How's it going, guys? It's T-Guy here. Today I'm gonna bring you a video that I tried to record a few times and it just wasn't really working out. I feel like this new update didn't really bring a lot of new content, and the content that it did bring is a little underwhelming. Araxia is definitely a great warframe, and the augments are cool, but besides that, meh. I mean, let's be real. We see how the event's going. But anyways, instead of making like one video at a time, just going over each augment individually, I thought it'd be kind of cool if I went over like every single augment, like all four of the augments. And I already made builds for each of them, so I thought we could go over it and reasons why you might want to use it and throw it into your builds, because some of them are really good. Some of them you kind of have to build specifically for them, and it might not be worth it if you were already enjoying what you're doing. With that out of the way, let's go and hop into it. So the first one I want to talk about is Caliban. I think the augment for Caliban is like a really, really good improvement. But I think first we kind of have to talk about what his ability does before the augment, so you kind of understand. I pressed the wrong thing. But let's go ahead and go to a blank slate. And let's go ahead and spawn some dudes. So, first ability, it's a little underwhelming. You do this, and that is it. Now you can see some dudes are glowing, and it's applied a Tau status effect. The game doesn't really tell you what the Tau status effect does, so we'll go ahead and look at that. What does it tell us in-game? Well, if you hover over his first ability, it explains that struck enemies are inflicted with Tau status effect, making them more vulnerable to all other status effects. It's kind of vague, it doesn't exactly tell you it doesn't really tell you what it does. So by saying it makes you more vulnerable to status effects, every single Tau status effect you have on an enemy, it makes them 10% more vulnerable to a status effect. So for instance, if I have, let's just say this weapon right here. This weapon has 32% status on it. Well, if they have one Tau status effect on them, now my weapon status chance is technically 42%. So that's pretty much it. But now let's go ahead and switch to the build I made for the augment, and I'll be able to show you exactly what it does now. Let's go and grab some energy real quick, actually. Boop. Okay, what does it do now? Super simple. It groups enemies for you. If you have these dudes summoned, I think it is the Orthless. If you have the Orthless summoned, they will force proc electricity on the enemies that you've grouped. Boom. Another thing I added to this was Roar, because I just wanted to be able to buff my companions. Wow, that guy really took off. These guys are fast. I didn't even realize how fast these guys are until like just now. Anyways, we'll do an armor strip. We will apply a few status effects. And boom. I mean, it kills so fast. This kills very fast, even in like super high level content. Boom, boom. Wham. I mean, that's pretty good, Especially for something that was barely even a movement tool beforehand. Now you have something to do with it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I really have to talk about for this one. So I guess we can move on to the next one. Who should I talk about next? Citrine's right next to him, so we'll talk about Citrine. So Citrine, I'm having a lot of fun with this. I think I have the Robo Dog on this build. I do. So I love this. First off, Citrine came out with a new skin. Awesome, cute, amazing. Like, the abilities have different visuals, and I love it a lot. It's great. We have little flowers now instead of just like random crystals. I'm going to be 100% real with you. I've played a decent amount of Citrine. Didn't even know that things floated around you with your second ability. The crystals were so small. I had no idea. And this also looks like a flower. I was expecting it to place in front of me. I forgot that the augment does that. The augment, it just allows it to attach to your dog. Now, the third ability is probably my favorite ability in the kit. And, I didn't really like playing Citrine in things like, let's say, exterminate, because the main reason why I personally would want to use citrine is for the third ability, and it just gets left behind. It's a stationary thing. But if you can attach it to your dog, it's no longer stationary. I think it also boosts the base duration of the ability if you have the augment active, and I find that to be really cool. So we'll go ahead and show this off real quick. There we go. You can see it starts to go crazy after a second. But yeah, your companions can do crazy damage, but you don't necessarily need to have like a companion build for this to go crazy. We'll show off the compressor. But it increases your status chance as well, and I find that to be really, really good. For instance, I can just do this, and I have increased status chance, and boom, everybody's dead. Good stuff. And I'll go ahead and show off the build I have for Citrine. Once again, okay, I should explain a few things. So the third ability is applying 4 different status effects. You can see right here it has heat, cold, electricity, toxin. So I have the cold, toxin, and heat Archon mods, and the other one was electricity, I think. But I didn't really need a little bit more range. I thought overextended would be better instead of Archon stretch. Also, Archon flow is not very necessary because the amount of cold kills you're going to be getting from your third ability is maybe in an hour-long run, maybe like 2, 3. It's not going to proc very often because you're going to be getting your kills more often from toxin or heat, most likely heat. Oh, one more thing I should talk about is the synergy of Archon Continuity, where my third ability will start to deal corrosive status effects to people, and then having the 2 green Archon shards to fully strip armor once the maximum amount of corrosive status effects are applied. So then Citrine will start to armor strip. And that's pretty much it for that. And we'll move on to the next one. So the next one, I guess we can do... Let's talk about Jade. Where's Jade at? There we go. Jade. So this one I actually had a lot of fun with, but it was kind of like later game. What? I have 2 builds, I think. Do I have 2 builds? I have 2 builds. And this one... Okay, so this one I went with like more range because I wanted it to apply to more enemies. So this one's kind of like more of a crowd thing. You want to apply your first ability on crowds of people. Wait, that's such a small range. Is this really what I was doing? How big is this range? I thought it's like decent range. No, that's like super poopy range. I thought I equipped the higher range one. Okay, my bad. I had my build switched around. That is my B. Okay, let's try it again. So boom, that's higher range. So then you would like apply that in like rooms. And then, you have like the jade lights that smack down enemies for you. And that's literally it. So you just kind of have these passive like in like hallways, and enemies just walk into them and they'll eventually die. And that is pretty much it. It's kind of like a passive killer, but the reason why I like this so much is because of this build I was messing around with. And this one is the one I just showed off by accident, but it was the super low range one. And I'll show you why I was cooking up with it a little bit. So, well, like the disruption targets, I love disruption missions, and I was trying to find a cheesy way to kill them, and I thought this would be cool. So you have this to lift the disruption target, and then eventually, the jade light will target on them, and then you just walk away and they die behind you because it just takes so much heat damage. The one bad thing that I don't really like about this is the you can see how fast they die. This is probably the weakest one for me, and the only reason why I say that is just because it would be cool if it like forced it like immediately onto the enemy, but it's like a chance. Every single time they take a tick of damage, I think it's twice a second. It's like a 5% chance for the jade light to pop on them. And it increases with strength, and I have a decent amount of strength on this build, and you can still see how long it takes sometimes. That one was pretty quick. I mean, look at this guy right here. He's just kind of chilling, just waiting for his day. There we go. That was, what, like 8 seconds? But I thought like a really good weapon to use on a build like this is the Proboscis Cernos, which I hardly ever use anymore, but I do find to be fun. So you just do this, and you group the enemies onto it. And I find that to be pretty fun. Do I have the other? No, I have Compress on this one. But the new weapon, the Sciotid, is also a pretty good pick for this. You know, just like having these placed down, and then you would like group your enemies into it. Yeah, I thought that was cool. You just have to be patient, you know, and meh, you know. But I find it to be pretty fun. So I'll go ahead and show off the builds again. Boom. This is the one with low range I was using for disruption. And this one is the one I was using with higher range to kind of like passively clear crowds. And you can still use this one in disruptions, but you know, I thought I would go with like a higher strength one to target disruption targets specifically. But even this one with super low range, you can kind of just like throw it in a hallway and enemies will walk into it. And that's pretty much all I really have to say about this one. This is probably my least favorite out of the 4 augments. But it's still pretty cool. You know, I still have fun with it. And then the last one, which is probably the best one out of all of these, is definitely Kullervo. 100% Kullervo. If you haven't seen, somehow, I will show you, and it is great. Super simple stuff. With the augment, if you have your second ability active, it constantly stabs the enemy, like constantly. And it is so good. This is amazing. You don't have to constantly recast your second ability. And with my build, it's like, let me check the duration. It's a decent amount of duration. I think it's almost a minute. Duration, okay, it was 46 seconds. Still really good. Really, really good stuff. And I loved Kullervo, even when I wasn't really using the who the hell is this? Handsome I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea who this person is. Okay, but anyways, so yeah, even before I was using this guy for melees, I just loved using this first ability to like dash around, and I loved having overguard with the second ability. This literally just makes the second ability better. You know, you can just constantly have this active and basically just stay alive forever. This is probably the best augment out of the entire one. Caliban's is probably my second favorite. It's just a goofy little thing that turns a movement tool into something better. But just being able to have the second ability active for so long, just constantly giving you a survival tool is just great. Is great. And if you want to use the second ability like pretty effectively, I highly recommend having a decent amount of range. So I went with, I think it was Auger Reach and Stretch. Yeah, I think it was a mix of the two. Yeah, Stretch and yeah, Auger Reach right here. Oh my god, I have so many builds. That's crazy. I didn't even realize I had that many. Anyways, that's pretty much all I really have to talk about today. So, you know, the premise of this video, if you like Kullervo, you definitely need to try this augment. I'd say the Caliban one is a must-have if you want to use this first ability. It just makes it so much better. Citrine, if you like her third ability, I highly recommend that one because instead of having to constantly recast it from place to place, it's a similar scenario with Kullervo. Instead of having to constantly recast it, now, you know, you just place it down and it just follows you around wherever you go. And Jade's even hers probably be the weakest one out of the update is it still has its niches. It's really cool. And that's pretty much all I really have to talk about today. So I hope you enjoy them. I highly recommend all of them. Try them out. You know, don't take my word for it. Use them yourself and see what you think. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. So I hope you enjoyed. I appreciate the support, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Deuces.